Hello, we are here today to discuss Joan of Arc, the Orleans drawing right.
That's right.
And
Well, there's not a whole lot of drawing.
No, I know.
It's more scratching stuff off.
Yeah, it's definitely a roll, or a draw from the bag, I guess.
That's true. It's a bag builder.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're not building. The bag's already built.
Yeah, you're drawing from
the bag. That's a good
so
point.
It's not a roll.
Right, it's a draw.
There's no dice.
I can agree with that then.
Different definition of draw than what you were thinking, or I was thinking. So, but before we get discussing other terminology,
first,
make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be aware of all of the grammatical mistakes that we make.
We do them a lot.
Yeah. All right. So, Rob, what can you tell us about Joan of Arc?
So, Joan of Arc, Orleans Rolling Right, came out in 2022, rated a 7.3. Overall rank is 3,892. Plays 1 to 5 in about 45 minutes, which sounds about right. Yep. I think it took us a little less because it's just us two, but at 3, I bet it's 45. Ages 12 and up. Again, I think that sounds about accurate. It's not a hard game, but there's some complexity to it.
Well, the rules themselves are fairly complex as far as just understanding the.
But once you get rolling, it's not too bad.
Yeah. Well,
or drawing. Sorry. It's designed by Ryan Hendrickson and Reiner Stockhausen. Art by Clemens Franz. Now, the MSRP is pretty good price, $29.95. Don't go to eBay, though. I've only seen prices at $59.95 for a bag.
Wow.
But at Card House, you get it for $23.96. Noble Knights, $24.95. Stay away from eBay, though.
All right. So what you get in the box, you get
pencils.
Little pencils. They do have erasers on them, they're slightly better than golf pencils.
Right.
You get a bag, and you get a bunch of cardboard tokens in the bag that look very much like the Orleans.
Very much so.
Tokens.
Except for the deluxe version, because we got the handy-dandy wooden tokens, so we had to put stickers on every single one of them.
Yes. Which is my big beef of things, is
and
stickers.
Then a big stack of double-sided paper.
Yeah. I don't know how many sheets that is, but it's a good
probably at least 50.
And and then a rule book, of course.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot to it, as in most roll and write type games.
Right.
So, it's hard to give this. I'll probably give it 5.5 because of the erasers that are on the pencils and the bag. I mean, there's not much to rate this different than any other roll and write.
Right. Yeah, I could say 5.5, maybe 6, because it's a decent bag.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so moving on to the theme. So again, just like Orleans, it's a very loosely based theme.
Yeah.
You're drawing tokens and you're following routes and you're filling in boxes.
The route map is almost, as far as graphically speaking, it's exactly like Orleans. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah, it definitely ties to the board game in that. And, the functionality of the tokens is different, but still in line with what you do in Orleans.
Right.
But, as far as it tying to making you feel like you're in Joan of Arc or in the period.
It's very pasted.
Yeah, completely layered on. Art isn't outstanding. It's okay.
It's not. I like the cover. It's classic Clemens Franz, so I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
But that's about the extent of the artwork.
I think I'm at a 5.5 on this as well.
Because I like the box cover, I'm 1.6.
Okay. Being very generous.
Yeah.
All right.
But I like Clemens Franz.
So. Moving on to the rule book. So the rule book is 12 pages long. There is no cover. It goes straight into the contents. Mm-hmm. It does go through the setup on the first page, which is interesting. And I do like the fact that where it tells you to scratch things out based on player count. Mm-hmm. They have those numbered on the map, and they show you where to scratch them out. That was very helpful.
It is, because especially when you really look at it, it can get a little, not overwhelming, but your eyes can get confused because there's so much on it. Because
if you're playing like a 2-player game, there's regions that you can't go in on the map, and it's very clear on here how it showed you to remove them, and they tied it to where they're telling you with the numbering system. I felt that was really good. As far as the terminology in the rulebook, that's where things kind of fell apart. When we were going through and trying to understand the actions, it made it way more difficult than it actually was, because the way it's phrased in the book. And, I think that, it could have just been a translation situation. There wasn't any bad grammar. It wasn't incorrect.
Maybe missing.
It was just the way things were phrased. We had to read through it several times to understand exactly what it was doing. And then even then, it wasn't clear in certain actions. Like when you took the monk, for example, at the very end, we discovered if you use the monk action, which is kind of the wild, do you treat it as the token before you do it? I mean,
well, it was
places...
converting. So I took a black token and it gave me a bonus. Great. But one of the actions is being able to convert that token to a different color. Yeah. And then it negates the bonuses that you would have got.
Right.
Normally, which kind of hurt because I could have got more points than I did initially.
Yeah, which was the way they placed it in here. It was convoluted because it tells you upon taking the token, you immediately get the benefit. But then if you use a monk to do it, you don't get the benefit, which could mean if you actually take the monk action as a token, because there are places to get a monk as a bonus. But it also could mean when you translate the token color from black to a monk, and then later on it was more clearly stated when you actually had the different actions you were taking, that's where it was more clarified to say if you converted it to a monk, you don't get it. But there was some things like that were just kind of confusing in here.
But those really weren't that many of them.
No, there weren't that many.
For the most part, it was pretty clear.
Yeah, it was a pretty good rule book.
Yeah.
And it does have a lengthy solo play. As a matter of fact, there's a whole deck of cards in there for solo.
Huh.
The rules for multiplayer only goes to page 7. After that, from page 8 page 8 to 9, 10 is the solo play. Then it goes into
that part of it out.
All the different locations, which are they have some printed on your player mat, but then they have a card deck to let you vary those. I thought that was really nice too. So you can shuffle them up, and you choose 4 from each level, but there's actually more than 4. So I think you can have ones that are not pictured on there as well. Cool. So I thought that was really nice. To give you some variability when you're playing. So all in all, I think the rulebook does a pretty good job. Just it was a little confusing in a few places, but once you actually start playing, things kind of made sense. I'm probably going to go ahead and give it a 7.
Okay, I can agree with that.
All right, moving on to gameplay. So, this is very much like most roll and writes.
Yeah, it's a very simplified version of the board game that inspired it.
So, depending on player count, there's a lot of variance as far as how many tokens are in the bag and how many you draw. And then, there's areas on the map that you have to alter. So, in the 2-player game, what we played, there's 27 tokens in the bag. The first thing you do is withdraw 2 of them and put them into the holding area, they call it. And then you're going to draw, in the 2-player game, 5 more tokens to play and to put into play. And from those tokens, you're going to get to choose an action. So whoever goes first will take the first, and then you're going to alternate back and forth until there's one left, and the first player gets that one by default. So the first player will get 3 actions, second player will get 2, and then you swap first player.
So everyone will get the same number of actions.
Yes. So the different actions you can take. The blue token lets you, on the map, get to plot out a waterway. And the waterways, you have to start at Orleans, just like in the board game. But they have different resources on them that you can put in your warehouse. And you collect those.
Just like Orleans 2, where you got the little chits that would fit on those. So.
Yep. So your warehouse gives you victory points as you complete rows. And if you complete columns, you actually trigger different abilities along the way. I thought that was really cool.
It is. Yeah, a little Matrix type looking effect.
And that's really key to this game for both the warehouse and for the coinage that you get. But the coinage works a little differently. So that's pretty much the action.
Or you get a coin.
Yeah,
you can unlock a waterway or get a coin.
Yeah, for pretty much everything except for the white and the red tokens, you can trade, and the gray, I guess. For half of the tokens.
So not most.
Not all. 50%. It rounds up. For 50% of the tokens,
you can
trade it for the coin, or you can take the action. So that's the blue. For the white token, you can automatically fill in a warehouse box. So instead of going down the route of the roads or the waterways, you can just choose the white token and fill in any box, but it has to be left to right. So you can choose whichever road you want.
Choose whichever one, but you have to start on left.
Yep. And if you take the black token, there are different types of buildings at the bottom that you can trigger and take ownership of.
Right.
And so these cost coins to do that. The first 2 columns cost 1 coin, and then after that it's 2 coins for all the others. but you have to start in the first column.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this is if you do that, the next player can choose to go ahead to move to the next column or take another one in that column whenever they take a black token. So while you're doing something to benefit you, you're setting up your opponent to actually get a benefit that might be better than yours.
Right.
But you have to have a coin available to do that. So coins are very important. So coins, you start the game with one coin already circled. You can then, whenever you gain a coin, you can choose to go further to the right in the same row, or you can choose another row to start. And again, you always have to go left or right. So again, you get benefits from completing rows as soon as you gain the coins.
Right.
When you complete a column, as far as spending the coins, there's an ability you get immediately.
Right. But everyone will get that once they
complete their column. But there's also a first come, first serve ability at the bottom, where if you're the first to get to it, you'll get a banner, and the banners are worth victory points the more you collect. So you want to try to get as many of those filled in as you go throughout the game, and there's several ways to do it. In the warehouse, if you actually max out any of your rows and you gain another resource of that type, you get a banner too. So filling in the warehouse could be a viable way of winning and strategizing for the game. And
initially, the banners aren't worth that many, but it's, they all add up. So if you get them all, it could be quite a few points.
Right. In addition to the victory points you get for the warehouse rows. So that's one strategy that I think would pay out pretty big.
The other interesting thing about the black token is that they also unlock basically special perks for the other tokens that you draw or play. So, like, for example, I unlocked 2 of them for when you just get the black tokens. Not even using it yet. I get a coin and a book. And so I was able to get 2 perks just for getting the black token. And then I get to use the black token to unlock another perk. But we kind of found out, although they are useful, they're not as powerful as we thought they were going.
And the buildings were nice. They definitely gave you better abilities.
Yeah, for sure.
But you got to choose them selectively in the ones that I think you're going to find use in. And the thing is the tokens that you need, you have to be able. They have to come up, and you have to get them.
And I thought that's the part that was kind of restrictive. It's you're using it, but it unlocks the ability. You don't get the ability immediately. You have to spend another token of whatever color you unlocked to be able to then gain advantage.
Right.
So I think that's what limited it more than what I would have liked initially.
So then we have the brown tokens. These are used for claiming trade routes. So on the map, there's little look like houses that if you've connected to them, first of all, everybody's connected to Orleans, so everybody can use Orleans. If you've connected a road or a river pathway, you can choose any of those numbered places, and if you're the first to do it, then you get to claim it. No one else can claim that trade building.
Yeah, so the other guy, you have to tell them, and they actually have to cross it off. They can't get it.
So these can be really powerful. As a matter of fact, that's one thing for you.
Yeah, I think that's one thing.
Because the trade routes are used during the scoring as a multiplier, along with your development track, which we'll get to momentarily. As you take the number of trade routes you have times how far your multiplier is on your development track, and that's your score for the trade routes. In addition, you add in any of the citizens that you pick up along the way, which there's various ways to get them, and that becomes your score.
That's the biggest part of the score. It was for me. It was unlocking the trade route, the trade houses. And I stayed equal with Randy as far as the multiplier goes.
Yeah, so I had one less trade route than you, and that caused me to get a significant decrease in that. So I lost by 2 points because of that. The next one is the development track one, the gray one. So if you get the gray one, you get a book, which is how you advance up the development track. Now, there's ways to increase that using the black tokens to get buildings that will give you better exchange rates.
And that was the most useful for me because I was able to get 1 gray token and get 4 books out.
Right.
And so that really helped escalate that development.
But there's a lot of things that give you books along.
Yeah, that's true too.
If you develop your map, there's books along the map.
There's lots of books on the map.
There's also ones, like I developed my I got the trade route ability, which when I took the red token, which we'll get to momentarily, it lets you build on the roads, and it also gave me a free book.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of ways of getting books, and that's how I stayed ahead of you, even though you had more multipliers of benefits for the gaining books. Not to mention, there's like a 4-book space right there in the warehouse that you can trigger by getting a column completed. So, there's lots of ways to get the books to move up the track. So even though
But we didn't max out the development track.
No, we didn't.
We got a lot of books, but
this game ends before you want it to.
Very quickly.
And then, as you mentioned, the red token is what you use to go up the roads on the track. So it's very much like the blue token. It's just kind of counterparts. Just instead of going on the waterways, you go onto the roads. And you have to connect to a road you already have built or to Orleans. You can't start just anywhere.
And then you have to have that road going to the stronghold so that you can then get that stronghold.
Yeah, the trade building, in order to build there. But you don't have to own the trade buildings to build the roads. You can build
you can build as many roads as you want.
Yeah. So basically you play based upon player count, how many times you refill the bag, and there's 27 tokens. If you take 2 out, there's 25. So it means we go 5 draws from this bag, and we're only going to do it 2 times. So it's 10 draws total. So, but we're playing 2 tokens. Now, if you play more than 2 players, you're only going to get 1 token.
Right.
So it's going to be more bag fills, but you're going to get less tokens. So
I think it would be just as quick with a 3 or 4.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna gain any more actions per se, maybe 1 or 2 because the variable player counts. But
it did end very quickly, and it felt like it ended very quickly.
Yeah, I think it's designed.
I think it's designed to do that.
Yeah, you're never going to be able to do everything you want to do in this game. Which
will frustrate Miranda because she wants to do all the things.
Well, but it's just like any roll and write. You can never complete a roll and write.
Although we came pretty close on Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah, well, Hadrian's Walls, you can do a lot of cool stuff with that one. But, Hadrian's Wall is always our benchmark we compare everything to, and it's kind of an unfair comparison because it's kind of its own realm. So as far as this one, I like it. I'm not a huge fan of Orleans. You like it a lot more than I do.
like Orleans quite a bit.
And of course, I was kind of tarnished by the stickers. Yeah. And when we played it, we only played the base game. And I'm sure the add-ons changed it and enhanced it a lot.
The invasion expansion is fantastic.
Yeah, and I did like it better when we played it the second time around, where we added on a few of the...
Yeah.
We did add on a couple of the add-ons. So as far as this game goes, as far as roll rights go, it's not bad. It's a pretty good one.
Not bad.
It's, it's definitely not Hadrian's Wall. It's still not Raja the Ganges or the Three Sisters or any of the ones made by them. Motor City or the Fleet. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to give this a 7.5. I think is where I'm at. I think it's a decent.
I think I'm the same way, 7.5. The only major complaint that I have is that because I almost wish the paper was bigger because some of the icons are so little, it's hard to differentiate the token types and what they do.
If they made it bigger, the box would have to be bigger.
I'm fine with that. Because some of those is really hard to tell the brown from the red from the gray. And it might be our lighting too. Maybe if you have a wider lighting, it might be a little bit easier
I definitely think
see.
that they shaded things incorrectly. Now, you can generally make out the shape of the figure in it.
But for me and my bad eyesight, some of those is pretty tough to see.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's not a huge complaint, just a little one.
Yeah, because the brown, the black, and the gray tokens, when they shrink them down to the picture, they kind of blend together. You just have to look at the figure to tell the shape is different. But it would have been nice if they could have made those a little clearer.
But that's my other one. So I think I'm the same way. So same score for me.
All right. Well, that's our thoughts on Joan of Arc. Mm-hmm. So if you've had a chance to play it, let us know what you think. If you haven't had a chance to play it, give it a try. Yeah. Especially if you're roll and write, draw and write, whatever type of write fan, definitely.
I think your sister liked it quite a bit, didn't she?
I think so.
So,
all right. We're going to go with that.
Yeah, sure. There you go. Rhonda does it plus.
So until next time, you keep playing, and we'll keep videoing.
And reviewing.
And we'll be back here every few days, as usual. All right. See you next time. Bye.